Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dungeon Master Solutions. This is GMKC, and we are here today with our third podcast. And I have with me my good friend Ian. Welcome to the show, Ian.
Hey, good to be back.
Today, we're going to be talking about magic items. More specifically, the magic items that we love.
Yes.
I decided today we would limit it to just single one. But yours, I think, when you told me about, is a little unorthodox in that regard.
Yes.
So, what's your favorite magic item, Ian?
Okay, so mine, like you said, has a little bit of backstory. I really like magic items that go along with characters and what they're thinking of. And I had a character, my sister, Lauren, shout out. She had a character named Winsley that when she started playing, this was her very first character. I was like, yeah, I've been playing D&D for a little bit. Yeah, let me do like a level 1 adventure and just see how you like it. So we grabbed her, we grabbed her dad, my father-in-law, we grabbed her husband, and I was like, okay, I found this nice, easy level 1 adventure, The Mystery at Drury's Well. You know, it's got like a mix of combat, mystery, all that cool stuff. And then she handed me like a 1-page backstory, like in depth. I'm like, yes, this is, DMs feed off of this stuff. I need this stuff.
It's when you've got a good player on your hands when they come with a 1-page backstory to a one-shot.
Yes, definitely. So I'm reading. I'm like, oh man, her character's experimenting with the Philosopher's Stone. Oh man, this is crazy. So at the end, at the end of the adventure, they defeat the enemy, they find the treasure hoard, and they're getting all the loot. And I'm like an idea in my head just like happens. I'm like, oh, there's one more thing you find, Winsley. Open that chest, and it's a shard. And that color of that, it's a shard of the Philosopher's Stone. And she's like, what? And so from there, like a one-shot, you always mean for it to be like one-time thing, but for some reason we were like, oh man, this is so awesome, let's just continue the story. So from there it inspired me. It's like, okay, they're going to be on this quest to find all the shards of the Philosopher's Stone, and if they can ever unite all the pieces, I was thinking it almost like the spell Wish, like it would unlock that, because her whole thing was she was messing around with the Philosopher's Stone and accidentally became immortal. And after a while, it becomes almost like a curse. You're like, oh man, I've been living, it's never going to end, So I was going to follow up the campaign at the end when they collected all the shards to that. But each shard had their own like little properties and everything like that, like once they collected them.
So give us some examples, man.
Okay, so the first one they found was called, it looked like a diamond, and it was called like the Seeker Stone, because this shard could direct you to the next closest shard, like in any direction, as long as it was as close to you. So it's
perfect.
Almost like
for the first one,
First one, yeah, perfect. So it could lead you to the next one. And then I had 7 shards that were gonna, come together. And I always really like elemental stuff and light and dark. So, of course, the Seeker Stone was like a diamond, like the light stone, and it kind of shined a path to all the different fragments. The Dark Stone granted luck, so +1 to all ability checks and saves. Then I had the Thunderstone or the Lightning Stone, absorbs lightning damage. Firestone absorbs fire damage, and you can like summon a fire elemental. I thought was pretty cool. Water Stone, you can breathe underwater. Earth Stone, you can create an earth golem, which is pretty wild. And then the Air Stone, which allows casting of the fly spell at will. So you can just, I think, Avatar, Naruto, all the elemental stuff was going on in my head at that time.
Dude, you got to take from what inspires you.
Yeah.
Dude,
they
awesome.
did get the light, the dark, and then I think they even got the Earth Stone, because they fought the Earth Golem, and then inside, embedded, once they defeated him, the shard was like in there, and they're like, yeah, I got it.
That's awesome. So you used the item as the main quest of your story in that case.
Yeah. And lots of times I really like to do that. If a character is really something's going on with the backstory, I really like to shape the campaign around what that character's motivations are and everything like that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. I personally, so when you were telling me a little bit about it, obviously firing the creative pistons in my brain, I think I would use an item like that as a secondary quest to an ongoing other like main quest, as a means of giving my players rewards that aren't strictly just you get 1,000 gold. It's just there's like, oh, we found one more piece of the philosopher's stone. It gives a treasure hoard that much extra significance.
Yes. Oh, dude, this guy had a shard the whole time. Oh man, what? He was like, I like that stuff.
Would you ever have your enemies use the shards against the players?
They did actually.
Oh, okay.
Yes. They're on a, well, he was like an enemy at first. Like, they were big into Home Alone, so obviously I threw a Kevin McAllister NPC with his two bandits, Marv and Harry, and so that was like their first encounter. So they defeated them, and then Kevin's like, "I'll be back," and but he ended up using and collecting the shards and using them against him. Like he created a flesh golem out of Harry and Marv. Like they defeated them. And this was kind of dark, but he like Kevin stitched up their corpses together and used the earth shard to make them into a flesh golem, and they had to defeat it. Yeah, and they did. It was wild. but yeah, so it's always good to have an enemy use the magic item. And lots of times, I always forget. I'm bad about doing this. Lots of times, you'll defeat an enemy, and then you go into their treasure hoard, and they're like, "Oh, whoa, he had a vorpal sword. Oh, whoa, he had this awesome magic item. Why wasn't he or she using it?"
Yeah, like the vorpal sword could like decapitate people, right? So
yes.
he would have that on him. He would be
right. Yeah. So lots of times I forget to, to add some magic items to my big bads to make them even more formidable.
And it really adds an element of unpredictability and danger.
Yeah.
Like certain magic items can really drastically change the circumstance of a final battle.
Oh, for sure. One time I was actually used my bad guys to actually target the party's magic weapons. Like I used like the one guy had a +1 sword or a +1 shield or something like that. And my little goblin just like ripped it out and ran off into the woods with it. So automatically the AC of the character went down to like 17, 16. And they're like, oh man, no. So it kind of like adds that unpredictability and, kind of tips the scales a little bit too. Because magic items are powerful in 5e.
They really are. And that, I guess, leads into another question. How often do you like to give them?
I like to talk to my players like, hey, is there something that you're looking for? Because I will make this like a quest item, for doing awesome. Because I like giving magic items to my players, but I guess more often than not, I try to. Lots of times we'll forget about our magic items. Like we'll get a bunch, and then we'll totally forget that we have all these cool stuff.
Which I think sometimes it breaks the DM's heart because it's like, oh, I give them all this cool stuff and they're not using it.
That's why I try to like cross-reference my notes. Like whenever I'm about to play, I'm like, okay, let me see. Is there something in here like the bag of beans? I'm like, oh man, we got this like 5 sessions ago.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta use it.
Right.
Well, while we're on magic items, what about you? What is your favorite magic item?
So when we started talking about this, the first item that came to my mind was the first magic item that I ever got in D&D as a player, and that was the Helm of 7 Deaths.
This was the first one you got as a player?
It was. My DM gave it to me. I was like level like 1 or 2. It was awesome.
Whoa!
Very excited to have it. Of course, it was my first campaign and it fell apart in like two sessions, but it lived on in my heart and I ended up giving it to my players. Now, I will be giving you the deets of it today, as best as I can, updated to 5th edition, because lo and behold, it is a 4th edition item. That's the edition that I started playing with. I know there's a lot of 4th edition haters. We'll say less about it. And
well, quick aside, I was watching that Matt Colville, and he was saying in 4th edition, magic items weren't as important because everything was so well balanced and so well designed. Am I remembering that right?
In my experience, I find that to be the case when it comes to weapons and armor and things like that. However, I don't think it necessarily applies to the far out kooky magic items, like, for example, what I'll be talking about today. Like,
Okay.
this one's far out. It's got a lot of very cool things that I think even a 5th edition Dungeon Master could take and morph and change and steal.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So it's got 4 abilities, okay? 3 of them are bonus actions, and the 4th one is a free reaction. So I'll jump right in. So before I get into them, I will mention this as well. It presupposes that you use the bloodied condition. I don't know if I know we use it a lot, and it's something that was started in 4th edition. But if a DM doesn't use the bloodied condition, then they can throw this first part out.
Or you could say like any wounded, as long as the enemy took damage.
Perhaps, but that might be very strong. The first ability is this. It's a bonus action. You choose 1 bloodied creature that you have hit with an attack during this turn, and you learn the creature's current hit point total. So that's a very good it's good info, good details, like in the midst of combat. You're learning so what?
Yeah, can you imagine like using that on a big bad? Like you know, you're 10 rounds in, they're finally like, okay, he's bloodied. And then you're like, oh man, I need to know his hit points. Okay, he's at 586 now. You're like, what?
It's like, I wish I didn't know, actually. Sorry.
Yeah, like we need an escape plan right now, guys.
Well, so okay, and then the second ability is the free reaction. The trigger is you kill a living creature with an attack, and the effect is one of the helm's 7 gems captures the creature's soul. And it has some text here about the rules of the gems. Of course, the helm of 7 deaths has 7 evil gems inlaid in the top of it.
So cool.
Now, the third ability is it recharges on a short rest, and it is a bonus action. You need to have at least 3 of the 7 gems filled with a soul. And the effect is, when you use this said bonus action, you regain hit points equal to 5 plus 1/2 your level. And you 2 of the gems release their souls. So it is a sort of a small little convenient heal that is at least a little bit useful at any level.
Okay, yeah, and it recharges on a short rest, you said. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And last but not least, this is the ult move it has. It is a bonus action to use, and it recharges on a long rest. The requirement is that all 7 gems must contain the souls, and the effect is, on your next damage roll, maximize the results of up to 4 of the dice you roll.
Wow.
All 7 gems then release their souls.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm. So there you go, man. The Helm of 7 Deaths. I think personally, I don't think it's overpowered. I think it's like super flavorful, especially if depending on how crazy the DM wants to get with it. And I think it, because it can be modified easily, DMs can move and change and shift stuff. I think it's a kick-ass item.
I think it is too. In fact, when you're describing it, it sucks their soul into the helm, which is wild. But I also like, each person is different, right? So let's say you're like killing evil people. The evil like souls go in the helm. It almost influences the character maybe or something like that.
Ooh.
Or if you accidentally like kill an innocent or something like that, different gems. Well, I know it says it glows green, but as a DM, I would be like, I would like to throw in things like, oh, someone's name just came into your lips or something like that. Like maybe you killed someone and they had like, a significant other, and all of a sudden their name comes to your lips, and you make them more than just like, I need energy for my helm,
Right. You actually please them, and maybe even depending on how, if you wanted to be a really, depending on the kind of campaign and what kind of DM you wanted to be, you could make them make madness rolls. The longer they use it, the longer they wear it, the more they use the abilities, and the evil sort of sucks in their brain.
I really like that. Okay, what happens if, someone, they're like deathly ill, you have no cure, you kill them, their soul goes into the gem until you can just abide enough time to somehow, when you release the soul, you get something else that can restore them or something like that.
So I think that use might be a little too altruistic for the original intention of the item.
For sure.
It does say in the minutia of the text, it says, a dead creature cannot be returned to life when its soul is captured in this manner.
So, there you go. They already thought of this.
Yes, yeah. So
I guess that playtest are like, oh, it's someone's okay, yeah.
Now, what I will say is this: it brings up an interesting topic, and you mentioned Matt Colville earlier.
Yeah.
He, in his stuff that he writes, some of his like magic items and stuff can only be used by PCs of specific alignments.
Oh.
And so thinking about that, it sort of come up in my mind. I never played it this way because I always imagined that once the souls, I was playing a good guy, unfortunately, in that campaign, and so I imagine when the souls they left the gems, they went to the afterlife or whatever, because I was just like, that's a little evil if I'm just destroying their souls for for casual
are you
points.
Destroying them?
It doesn't specifically say.
Okay, so it's okay.
But depending on the kind of campaign, the kind of DM, you might put an evil restriction on the item. Only an evil PC can benefit from it, and then really slather it on thick with the evil flavor.
It does say release their soul, so yeah, I guess it's up to you and your DM on what that means.
Right.
Release it forever.
Forever.
Yeah. I can't believe that's a really cool DM that gave you that. Oh, level 1, you find this just insane magic item. Well, I mean, it's not OP, but yeah, it's awesome.
Well, it might have had to do with the fact that he might have been trying to placate me. And the reason that is this was my first D&D campaign ever. I didn't know what I was doing, and everyone's first D&D character, it's kind of like a idealized version of themselves. You've heard this theory before. And so I wanted to be a good guy because, I see myself as a good guy. Essentially I was just a monk that was kind of just like me, except with big poofy hair.
Awesome.
And anyway, the DM was like, nah, dog, it's an evil campaign.
Oh no!
And so I was like, "Oh my god!" And I had to roleplay it that my character was just drunk all the time and thought he was like upholding justice and fighting for good, but in reality, we were doing bad stuff.
Oh man!
And it might be because of the fact it was an evil campaign. That's why it might have fallen apart.
No. Oh well, yeah, exactly. But
they tend, not always, but they tend to lean that way, I think.
We'll have to explore this at some point about your first D&D character being an idealized version. I don't think I've ever heard that before, but it really makes sense because mine, and you can cut this out later if you want, but my first one was a cleric named Luke Fireborn. And of course, I thought I was like being so original and deep and everything like that, but he's abandoned at an orphanage when, as a baby. And the monastery, the monks, they rose him and they're like, oh, he's got a birthmark. This means he's like the chosen one, basically. And then just before I was about to, coming to age, I was like 12, 13, all of a sudden the monastery is attacked. Everyone is destroyed except me and everything like that. And now I walk the lands, like trying to figure out like what happened and channeling these new powers that were given to me and everything like that. But yeah.
That's awesome, man. Hey, more effort than mine, who was just essentially a drunken monk. So.
Well, no. Oh yeah. Did you write a backstory for this campaign, or you're like, I have no idea what to do at all?
It was, I think I kind of just, I don't know, man. His name was Kairu the Awesome. And he was a monk, and he just wanted to be the best he could. He just upheld justice. And, and as a result, because of I had to roll with the punches of what the DM was giving me, he became an alcoholic. And so it's just the drunken monk of righteousness. And I would, really, I'm embarrassed to say, largely influenced by the character Hawk Fu from Jackie Chan Adventures, the guy with the big red hair. So really obscure reference that maybe someone one day will understand.
I was just thinking about, I was like, when you said drunken monk, or the, drunken master, it made me think of, did you ever see the Karate Kid remake with Jackie Chan?
I have not.
It stars Jaden Smith. But anyway, Jackie Chan's like the maintenance guy, like the Karate Kid. But he lost his family like in a car accident, and so a lot of times he just drinks at night and he rebuilds this car that his family died in. He rebuilds it, and every year on the anniversary of their death, of the crash, he takes a sledgehammer and just destroys the car again. And then he starts the next day and like builds it. But as he's doing it, he's drunk. He's like, it's rough.
Well, in that, I don't know if you are familiar with some of his older filmography, but one of the movies that put Jackie Chan as an actor on the map was, I forget the precise name, but it was Legend of the Drunken Fist or whatever. And
I've never seen it, but yes.
So the association between drunken martial arts and Jackie Chan is very strong.
Oh yeah, I love that he could just take any item, any household item, and turn it into a weapon, like Post-it note.
And he doesn't want any trouble.
Yeah, yes.
Well, hey, I appreciate it, Ian. Thanks for stopping by, man. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's all the time we have for today. I hope to talk to you, Ian, about more D&D topics soon. This has been GMKC with Dungeon Master Solutions. See you next time.
Yeah, anytime.